My name is Morton. I am the founder of Ish, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about Ish, and I'm going to be talking about obviously Gen Z and so forth. And I think you're going to be able to see some correlation between Charlie's slides and mine. So let's jump into it. I decided to call my presentation the ultimate invitation because essentially that's what it is, since we're all working with hospitality on some level or another. And to Charlie's points, a lot of data in that. I won't do a bunch of data, but essentially it all comes down to being the ultimate invitation, right? So we want to serve our guests, we want to serve our customers. Ish is a Danish mindful drinking brand. We are not a non-alcoholic brand. We only produce non-alcoholic spirits and wines and cocktails, but we are a mindful drinking company. So the reason why we call ourselves a mindful drinking company is we want to make it easy for anyone to moderate their alcohol intake. So like Charlie said, Gen Zs are not necessarily teetotalers, but they like to moderate their alcohol intake. And that's what we want to make easy for them. When we do that, we want people to feel free, right? We want people to feel free to choose what they want, right? And we believe that when you feel, or when you feel free when you choose what's right for yourself, right? So when you can do that, then we can actually make it easy for you to be a mindful drinker. And that's why we kind of use this phrase of feeling free, because that's essentially what it comes down to. It's also about feeling free to grab something with alcohol if you want, grabbing something with low alcohol if you want. So this is the Ish brand. This is all about feeling free. If we look at what we do, essentially, we create a wide range of spirits. So we have 3 different spirits. We have a gin and a rum and a tequila. We have 4 different wines. We have a sparkling rosé, a sparkling white. We have a sparkling espumante. And we have our newest wine, which is incredible and took us about 2.5 years to get to this point of creating a really awesome non-alcoholic white wine that we're incredibly proud of. Made with 100% Chardonnay grapes, actually. Additionally, we have 4 alcohol-free cocktails. So we have a spritz, we have a G&T, a lime daiquiri, and a mojito. So this is our range. We have one of the broadest and most award-winning ranges in the world, which we are proud of. And the way that we do this, I just want to give you guys some insight, is that we want to create products that taste as close to the original as possible. So when we create a non-alcoholic gin, we want it to be used as a gin. We want it to be used for gin tonics. We want it to be used for low-alc Negronis, etc. Our rum, for example, same thing, and the tequila as well. And the reason why we created the tequila was that we saw the stats on tequila that Charlie just referenced, and we know that if we want to make it easy for anybody to be a mindful drinker, we need to create products that resemble that. So if you love margaritas, I love margaritas, but a couple of margaritas at 18% alcohol, you also get a little buzzy. Sometimes that's nice, sometimes you don't want that. So if we're speaking to a audience that wants to be mindful about their consumption, we want to give them margaritas without any alcohol or very low in alcohol. So that's what we do. We use only natural ingredients to produce our products. We use, in our spirits, we use in our rum is actually made with de-alcoholized rum from the Caribbean. Our gin is made with juniper, coriander seeds, orange zest. Our tequila is made with organic blue agave from Mexico with American oak wood to give it kind of reposado feel and so forth. So we want to recreate those flavors that we know and love, but simply without the alcohol part. And our rum is actually the first in the world to create it on a de-alcoholized rum that we source from the Caribbean, from Martinique and Jamaica. We de-alcoholize it, and then we add in vanilla from the Sava region in Madagascar. We add in Indonesian nutmeg and so forth. In our spirits also, we want to give this like alcohol burn. So we wash the shells of the seeds of chilies to give it kind of a liquid that can give some heat. And then when we add that into the recipe, you kind of get that burn that you want. So, these are, we started back in 2018, 2017 actually. So this has been on the way for a long time, and we keep improving, we keep making them better, and we keep wanting to create this experience of like, holy shit, that was better than I thought. Because we also know that there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to alcohol-free, that people have, can it actually live up to the promise? That's why we're proud of our wonderful awards, over 40 international taste awards that we've won. But what's more important actually is our reviews. So we have I think we're close to 500 now, and we're still this like 4.6 star review. So these are customers trying our products and then, reviewing it. So this is important for us. And on a business level, of course, we have a lot of repeat customers. This is online data, so we have over 50% generally on repeat customers coming back for more. So that's the most kind of indicators that we can use to kind of show that we have some awesome products. On-premise, of course, is a big topic today. So I took a slide here just to kind of give you an idea of the people that we work with today. So we're from Denmark, we're from Copenhagen. We work with Alchemist, 2-star Michelin, Hotel Villa, Sticks and Sushi in Denmark. We work with the only 2-star Michelin in Finland called Palace. Our first account ever when we entered the US some years back was 11 Madison Park, 3-star Michelin. We just started working with Delta, so all 150 Delta lounges in the US now have Ish on their menu. And this is a really cool one because Delta knew that they were getting a lot of requests on mindful drinking, on low ABV, no ABV products. So they took their full-on classic menu that you would get if you're sitting at the bar at a Delta lounge in any airport in the US. And then they made little asterisks on, I think, like 10 of the cocktails. And it said, you can get this in a non-alcoholic version with the Ish Caribbean Spiced or the Ish London Botanical. And they basically made the exact same version, just without alcohol. And that's what we want, because we want this correlation of like, I love a gin tonic, I love a daiquiri, I love a margarita. I can have the alcoholic version, I can also have the non-alcoholic version. So that one was really cool. What we're looking at is macro trends, essentially. So this is what we believe is driving the non-alcoholic trend. It's the fact that we can take these macro trends that has nothing to do with us, but our consumer behavior. So if we take health, for example, that is a massive macro trend. People have an intention of becoming more and more healthy. It's a thing. But we also have the counterpart of that, which is indulgence, right? So it's the have your cake and eat it too dilemma. It's the, I want to go out tonight and have a good time and all that, but shit, I'm going to drink so much alcohol, I'm not going to feel good the day after. And if we can combine those things by introducing mindful drinking, right? By being a mindful drinking company that makes it easy to be a mindful drinker, then we can actually kind of create that intersection of living a healthy lifestyle, but also going out and indulging, like having your dark and stormies and your spritzes and your, a couple of glasses of white wine and so forth. So we believe that if you can really create this like on premise, like Delta is doing, or some of the other partners that we work with, and probably a lot of you guys are doing, you're truly serving your guests. And we believe that's incredibly important. We recently did a collaboration with something called Rekom Group. Rekom Group is Danish. It's a massive bar group, and basically they are, well, we'll have it here. Yeah, they're the Northern Europe's largest nightlife company. So they have a lot of guests coming through, about 20 million annual guests that come through their doors. They have over 6,000 employees, and they have a pretty good, like, innovative mindset. They know they need to keep innovating to keep their guests happy. So Rekom is a Copenhagen-based, similar to us, but they knew that more and more of their guests were looking for mindful options, and that's why they came to us. So basically, they did a big survey, and that's what I wanted to introduce to you guys, like kind of what we learned from them and how we collaborated and what came out of it. So they knew that more and more individuals, especially the Gen Z, were kind of embracing this sober, curious, mindful drinking thing, right? So this is the core demographic of their guests coming through their doors. And of course, they need to serve them. And I've been talking to Rekom and have friends from Rekom since I started Ish back in 2018. And they weren't necessarily quite ready back then, but this year they were ready. Now they knew, okay, now something is happening. Again, to Charlie's points, there's just more and more data indicating this, and that as the Gen Z kind of grew up and became more and more prominent, this was an important factor. So I have some different data points for you here, just to kind of give you some insight of what the learnings are from from their survey. So first they asked, how often do you go out? So we have over 30% or 30% going out 4 times or more a month. We have almost 40% up to 4 times a month, and then it kind of dwindles down from there. Essentially, what we know here is that, or with their core people going to the Rekom nightclubs and bars are people that go out a lot. So this is like they have loyalty memberships, etc. They go out basically every weekend or more, and go out and have a good time. We also know that a growing number of the young people are choosing to limit their alcohol consumption. And if we look at it from here, we have the top part, which is the 21 to 24-year-olds, and then kind of going down from there. Kind of the gray one there is the very curious on, like, if we talk like sober curious, or being like, are you curious to kind of limit your alcohol intake? So the very curious, and then the somewhat curious is the blue one. And then the not at all curious. These are the ones that don't give a shit about mindful drinking. They just want to go out and get hammered. It's about or not necessarily going out and get hammered, but they don't necessarily care either or. But the interesting part is also the ones that don't drink alcohol at all. And this is about a third in the young demographic that don't drink alcohol at all, and then also having the ones that are very curious, right? So then we have about a third left that don't really care, but 2/3 that don't drink or are curious to drink less. And this was the aha moment for them. So again, this is not necessarily a global thing. It actually correlates pretty much with the global. But imagine being Rekom and having all these venues, and then seeing this, be like, holy shit! Like, we thought we lived off getting people drunk, and that's what they've believed for a very, very long time. But here, actually, they learned that we have a lot of our guests that actually don't drink alcohol at all or are very curious to drink less. How do we serve them, right? So this just kind of shows that the Gen Z is the most curious age group. Another little fun thing that I put in here was kind of Pinterest, right? So if you look at the search for fancy non-alcoholic drinks, so this is something that I would search for, something that you would search for if you're having a party or a dinner party or whatever, and you're like, I'm serving my guests that are coming over. I want to be a good host. How do I get some fancy non-alcoholic drinks? And if we took like 2021 to be like the index, then it grew in just a year to index 320, right? So just the amount of searches just goes through the roof, and that's what we're seeing. You can go in, everybody can go into Google Trends and kind of search. You'll see exactly what happens. And somehow Christmas always points out, like Christmas, where people get together and drink, always like goes tremendously higher. Also in online communities, there's a lot happening. So again, speaking to the social media platforms that Charlie mentioned, a lot of people, a lot of us are getting impacted. A lot of Gen Zs are getting impacted by social media. So I just highlighted some just to kind of give you an idea of the scale. So No Booze Babe, New York, really active, 41,000 followers, and just talks about how do you date without alcohol? How do you do this? How do you do that? Like in a fun, cool way. We take Mr. Dr. Gonzalez, almost like over 330,000 followers, talks about alcohol. A little bit more from a medical perspective, but still talking into the detriment maybe, and then talking about how mindful drinking can, give a little bit more holistic point of view. Out of the UK, we have the Sober Girls Society, over 200,000 followers as well, that do like weekly events, like constantly, and just working with this community on creating communities and events that are just fun and cool and booze-free. So if we go back to the survey, like, why do you drink less alcohol, right? So we just confirmed that people are drinking less, they're curious to drink less. So why are they drinking less? If we talk about the Gen Z guests that come to the Rekom Group. So about 26% say that they're older now. So 23% say that they don't rely on alcohol in the same way as they did before, which I think is interesting. Time is a factor as well. 15% say they don't have the amount of time to maybe drink as much. And alcohol bars are too expensive, so that's a factor, of course. little bit more cautious today than maybe they were previously. Maybe that's a maturity as well. And they don't like to be very drunk, which is also interesting. And they just go out less. So kind of what we took out of this was that the audience is maturing a bit, right? So the Gen Z audience is maturing a bit. We can also see that the alcohol culture has changed. So it's kind of a different, you don't have to rely on alcohol in the same way as maybe you did 5 or 10 years ago. So it's kind of a different culture around that. And also, essentially, they're becoming a little bit more mindful. Like they don't like being drunk. They don't like the detriment effects of that. So that's also what's kind of like lowering that consumption part. And then again, what do you choose? And also alternative experience. And I thought this was interesting too. It's a lot to do with experience. And Charlie, you mentioned this as well. So like, a quarter of these will say like activity bars, like ping pong, pool, karaoke and stuff. Something where you stay active. Concerts and festivals, restaurants, cafes, sports, paddle tennis, bowling, cinema, paintball, etc. Amusement parks. So people are actually looking to stay busy, right? So they want activity. So catering to that, like if it's mini golf bars or it's electronic darts and so on, it's actually becoming very popular because you're staying active. It's not about sitting around at a table and just smashing pints or boozy cocktails. It's a little bit more, a little bit more intriguing, you can say. So now we knew this, like from the Rekom Group. Now they know all this data. We talked and they were like, we need to kind of figure out like, how do we do this? How do we cater to this? And how do we do the collaboration with you guys so that we can create something cool and something interesting? So basically, we took one of the most high-end cocktail bar that they have called Dandy in the middle of Copenhagen, and we did some different activities I'll share with you guys. So basically, a typical bar opens later at night, 9, 10 p.m. They were able to open it earlier and then actually extend the hours of service and increasing the revenue. That was one thing. We created a mindful menu. I'll get back to with you. And they also included these mindful options throughout their main menu, throughout the whole night, and throughout all their operating hours. And also we were able to feature some commercial partners that thought it was interesting to work with us and Rekom on a commercial level. So what do we get from that? So again, we were able to utilize the venue for more operating hours to create more revenue. We were able to create a dedicated menu that was the focus on that menu for these early hours to kind of really push the mindful options. And then, of course, make them available throughout the night. And then lastly, also kind of create some fun activities because we know people want to be activated. So how do we create some cool activities around this? So it's not just come in, sit down, drink non-alc, and go home. It was more like, how do we kind of do something fun around that? And stuff that we've been doing with them is like working with like Mini Cooper on doing an event, and it could be any car company, obviously. Electrical cars, you do test driving and you drink your cocktails and on a Friday afternoon, and you have a good time, and you get both ish activated, you get mini activated, but you certainly also get the venue activated. And this cocktail bar was not known for being a Friday bar kind of place. This was kind of a place that you went at night. You had to be invited usually, you have a membership and so on. So this kind of opened it up as well and became more of that ultimate invitation, say that, everybody's welcome during the day. We have this going on and this is exciting. Also, something that we're working on now is working with Adidas runners. So a running club that we then can put in this correlation as well, where they can go for a run, end up at the bar, have mindful cocktails, and have a good time and do something fun and interesting. So again, this is about creating community, it's about opening the doors, it's about creating a space and creating a menu that opens up for that and makes it exciting for the guests and doing something different that kind of puts you out of that mindset that it doesn't always have to be as conventional as it usually is. So I'll just kind of show you the menu card that we did. We did 5 cocktails, so 5 signature cocktails, 3 with non-alc, and then 2 with low alc. So this was quite cool because this again opens up the playing field, and it also opens up the inclusiveness of having a mindful drinking company. And we wanted to create both no and low because maybe somebody wanted just a little bit of alcohol. Be my guest, feel free. Additionally, we did the first one's free, right? So when you have good shit, you can give the first one free. And this is what we did to kind of create trial. We wanted to open up the doors and say, come on in, have a good time, have the first drinks on the house, and then, we go from there. And the price point on the other ones are roughly like $10, $12/euros is the normal price on the cocktails that we price them at. So the cocktails that we put on there, just to give you guys a little bit of inspiration, is that we did a Happy Hugo. So this was made with our sparkling white wine, made with Pinot Blanc and Silvaner grapes, grown in the Rheinhau district in Germany. We then add a little bit of elderflower syrup, some lime juice, mint leaves. You guys know how it goes. And we made these like super fresh kind of spritz like Hugo spritz. We also did a Paloma because everybody loves a Paloma. And basically here we used our Mexican agave. We used lime juice, some pink grapefruit soda, and I don't know why there's a cucumber in this picture, but it should be a grapefruit. But you guys know how it works. We also did a cucumber crush, which is a quite awesome cocktail. Our London Botanical, our gin. We did, and then you muddle some cucumber wheels with some basil leaves, lime juice, simple syrup, shake, all in a glass, and you have this incredible cocktail. For our low alcs, we did a Yespresso martini, and here what makes it low alc is the Kahlua. So, to be quite honest with you, it's not every cocktail that we can make with our spirits and make them alcohol-free where they're awesome. So some of them we recommend as low alc because the most important thing is that the taste and the experience is fucking awesome. And if we can't do that, we can't deliver on that, we'd rather not make the cocktail, or we make it low alc because then that makes it really awesome and then we can, justify it. In this case here, an espresso martini is typically 18% alcohol. Ours is 3% alcohol. So you can drink 6 times as many, or you can stick to 1 or 2, and you kind of, again, you're in that moderating audience field. We also did the Negroni, or the oh-so-low Groni, our low-alc Negroni. And again, a Negroni is about 23% alcohol. Ours is about 5% alcohol. So here we just swapped the gin with our non-alc gin. We swapped the Campari with Aperol, which I know is blasphemic, and I know that's a sin, but we're already sinning, so that's okay. And then regular sweet vermouth, and it's just a really easy drinkable, awesome, fantastic version of a Negroni. And an important factor that is my last slide here is that what do people do if you don't have this on your menu? If you don't go the full 9 yards and on doing like a full cocktail menu and so forth? What do people substitute with if there's not non-alc on the menu? And this was quite interesting because we see that it's soft drinks or water. And that can be fine if you want a soft drink or water, nothing wrong with that by any means, but maybe it's not as festive, maybe it's not as inclusive, and maybe it's not as revenue driving as a cocktail would be. Actually, the worst part for me was actually that it's usually, or a little farther down the list, a lot of people substitute with the full strength. And I think that's the biggest problem of all, is that if you have the intention of saying, I don't want to drink tonight, or I still want to go out and have a good time and be social, but you end up then substituting, your intention was not drinking, but you substitute with full strength, that's not good. We're not serving those guests at least. And I think that's an important factor, is that if we can serve our guests, if we can make them feel welcome, if we can give the ultimate invitation of a menu that includes all, and we can give them really good taste, and we can give them the experience. We call it internally the eyebrow lifting experience, where people try and they're like, holy shit, that was better than I thought. Then we're doing a good job. So that was it for me.